And we live. Welcome to the Walk With Me Live edition of the Walk With Me podcast series. And I believe we live. See what's going on. My mic sounds nice. Check one. My mic sounds nice. Check two. My mic sounds nice. Check one. Yeah, we live. Walk with me. Set this lick up. Set this lick up. Yeah. Yeah. We're going in today. Welcome to the Walk With Me Live with your good brother, Sekond Sun. That's second with a K, S-U-N, because I am Carolyn's second son. Walk with me, where we are on a liberated journey. You see? As you can see, the title of this live is KNOWrantine. KNOWrantine. Cause I wanna be free, completely free. Devil has got to let me and my people go. Cause I wanna be free, completely free. Lord, please come and save me, 'cause I wanna be free, totally free. Devil has got to let me and my people go. Walk with me. Once again, we on a liberated journey. Liberated meaning a freedom journey. We fighting for liberation. Underground Railroad style. You see? Peace be upon Dr. Leila Africa. We're going in a little bit on his book. Very simple, just a few pages, because that's how the truth is. The truth is when it's made simple. It don't have to be no long, drawn out presentation, you see. Walk with me. We live. Everybody got a little time, you see. Might as well kick back and try to learn something. Again, we want to welcome you to the Walk With Me Live on YouTube, as you can see. Serving as a extension or a constituent to the Walk With Me Live podcast series that you can find over there on the Press Box YouTube channel. The Press Box YouTube channel. Again, we serving as an extension, a constituent of that podcast series. This is your good brother, once again, Sekond Sun. You can find me over there at the Press Box YouTube channel with my good brother Barleen, where we going in on the 12 powers of man. So if you haven't done so, do so at your earliest convenience. Tip on over there on YouTube. Tip on over there to the Press Box YouTube channel, The Press Box, and subscribe. We got a Walk With Me podcast series going on over there between me and my good brother Barleen. I think we at number 6, like 6 episodes right now. We going in on the 12 powers of man and more, of course. But again, we want to send out a peaceful offering to the good brother, Dr. Leila Africa, that recently transitioned back here on the 22nd of March. And we just want to pay our respects to him at this time, because this is a perfect time to do so. Without a shadow of a doubt, is it a perfect time to do so? With everything that's going on right now, you see, Dr. Leila Africa was one of those, what you call, freedom fighters, one of those spirits that you would have found traveling the Underground Railroad. And again, if Laila Africa, if that name doesn't ring a bell to you, now is a good time to get familiar with him and his work. But he recently transitioned back here on the 22nd of March, I believe it was. Yes, the 22nd. He made his transition. He was 74 years of age. And he spent a lot of his life fighting that fight, that freedom fight. And again, we're going to be touching in on, just reading in on one of his pieces of work. I think it's important that we do so again, because now is definitely a time of war. And in war, you know, there's arts of war. You can find that. You can find a piece of work done on that. The book Art of War. And when we speaking about the art of war, of course, there is different techniques to battle or to fighting. We can even equate it to, you know, the boxer, you see, etc. Taekwondo, etc. These different pressure points. You see, on the body. And of course, we can always relate the physical realm to the spiritual realm. We can always use the physical realm to analyze or to be able to define the spirit realm. As above, so below. Meaning whatever is done on the earth planet, you see, on the physical, can be done in the spiritual. Meaning, if there's different pressure points on the body, there's some pressure points above as well, you see, mentally or spiritually, that can be used for battle. That's what we got to know. And in order to tap into that ability, we already know that there's some laws, some rules and guidelines that's been laid down for us to guide, for us to obey and adhere to, so we can win the battle. Because that's the whole theme of war, is to win. You see? And what better time than now is it that we've been presented with, let's say that, what better time than now that we've been presented with as far as a question mark on who you are, your faith, etc., has been definitely tested. Yeah, we can say that word at this point in time, as it relates to our fiscal calendar, the 2020. You see what I'm saying? The calendar year 2020 that has eased in on us and showed us some things. And again, our mental, you see, needs to be as strong as possible in a time like now. How are we going to be able to win the war or the battle with a weak mind? You see, and a weak spiritual man. You see, there's no way possible that you can win the war or the battle, and your mind is weak. You see, your machinery is faulty. You see, that's what we can't afford in battle or in war. Just like Mama Harriet, you see, Mama Harriet would blow your brains out. You know what I'm saying? Would kill you. Mama Harriet would. If you was on that weak mind, I can't take it, I can't do it, I'm giving up type spirit. If you was on that, yeah, you had to be done away with. You couldn't even, you see what I'm saying? You couldn't even travel the Underground Railroad. You had to be done away with. And we don't want to be that one. You see? We don't want to be that one that has to be done away with. Now, of course, in today's, like, as we relate today's time with the Underground Railroad time, you see, there would be no difference in Mama Harriet getting rid of you for being weak-minded and you being out here in today's time and feeling like you're defeated. You see, like, woe is me and this is the end of the world type energy. That's not fair to yourself, because you got to know that you are equipped with artillery, spiritual artillery, you see, that is connected directly to your brain. You see? Now, when we talking, again, spiritual warfare and the art of warfare, the most powerful state of mind that you can be in is very important, because we know that the mind, that's how you see what I'm saying, make your moves. That's where your intuition is connected to. That's what your discernment is connected to, etc. That's what your self-esteem is connected to, etc. You see? So with that being said, you want your mind to be in its most powerful state, not in its weakest. And we know now, in 2020, that there is an outright war on humanity as a whole at this point. Humanity as a whole. But of course, when we talking when we narrowing it down to my people, you see, the so-called black people of North America and the world for that matter. But of course, we talking about this war that started centuries ago. And now, in 2020, we're able to look back and then see today how, yeah, this has really been a hell of a experiment, you see, that was implemented, political experiment that was implemented on this certain type of people, you see. And we, now that we know what we know, as far as, you see what I'm saying, it's been an outright war to destroy a nation of people, you see what I'm saying? Since we know that, now we got to tap into the art of war and know how to respond. I believe now it's fair to say that we know that emotions is not going to win nothing. Emotions, you know, responding emotionally, you see, and not in truth. It's definitely, I know it got to be fair to say at this point in 2020, you see, when we can go back to the, what you call civil rights movement, you see, till now, to where we can see, you know, that the emotions of, you know, the picketing and the, you see what I'm saying, the marching, you see, you know, I think it's fair to say at this point now that we know that that's not gonna get it as a whole, as far as the war go and winning the war and winning the battle, you see. Saying all that to say this, we got to switch up our swagger, you see. Now it's time to go ahead and holistically fight back. Holistically meaning I'm using everything that the universal God gave me for battle. You see? And everything that the universal God gave me for battle is directly connected to my brain, the pineal, and everything connected to it. You see? And in order for me to respond holistically and use this, because some will say that. Some might say, you know what I'm saying? How is the pineal and you know, my brain, how's that gonna, you know, change anything? You see? And my answer to that individual would be, well, it's important that we take our time and really walk through a historical timeline and see how a certain people was attacked mentally, you see. And we already know when we saying mentally, that's directly connected to the brain, you see. The central nervous system, you see, was disrupted for a reason. Because organically, the central nervous system has powers connected to it, you see, that will allow one to be able to win these battles, you see. Because like the scriptures say, it's going to be wars and rumors of wars. That's just what it is till, you see what I'm saying, to the end of the world. And the end of the world would be whenever you transition. Because the sun will never stop rising and setting. So that whole interpretation of end of the world only relates to individuals. You see, the end of the world. My mama, peace be upon her. My mom-in-law, peace be upon her. You see, my father-in-law, peace be upon him. You see what I'm saying? My papa, peace be upon him, etc. These ancestors that went on, the end of the world for them, you see, has already taken place. But a grand end of the world for all of humanity, no, that'll never happen. You see, the sun will continue to rise and set, and there will be some type of habitation going on. That's just what that is. You see? Now, the end, once again, of the world for an individual is when that individual transition. You see? Period. Now, back to this ability to fight and having all of the tools organically in us, you see, to do so is very important for us to key in on. Because again, that's the only way that a spiritual war, you see, can be won anyway, is in the mind first, of course, and then it transcends. It trickles all the way down into the physical realm or the material realm. But it has to start in the mind. You see? And again, we have to key in on the fact that the mind was attacked. This certain mind, this certain nationality of a people, the mind was attacked. To take that mind somewhere else, as we can see. But now we're in the stages of it seems like we're being forced. You see? That's what it seems like. To sit down and really know who we are so we can go back and get back in the game right. You see? Start playing the game like it's supposed to be played. And not from a woe is me standpoint. You see, because again, one might say, you know, what is all this going, you know, the whole information thing about the pineal, how it work, melanin, etc. We're going to talk about melanin here real quick before we get up out of here. You see? What is the whole big deal about all that? Well, the big deal about it is when you get into the know and know exactly what you're working with, you see, going back to liking yourself or your body to machinery, you see, what good is that tractor if you don't know how to run it? You see what I'm saying? That good John Deere, you got the good, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, you know what I'm talking about? The main thing you like, your brand of tractors, etc. What good is that tractor gonna do? What good is that big, you know what I'm saying, that big diesel and that trailer? You see what I'm saying? 53 footer. You know what I'm saying? What good does it do if you don't know how to operate it? You see what I'm saying? You can liken your body to that. You see what I'm saying? You see? What good does that Bugatti, you see what I'm saying? What good does it do? How it run, etc., yada, yada, if you don't know how to operate it. If you don't know, you see what I'm saying, the perks and how to use them to your benefit. The whole concept of man, know thyself is very important in times like these. Because otherwise, if you don't know yourself, you'll fall into this trap that was set, you see? Again, that we was talking about how these people, you see, their mind was attacked. This certain nationality of people, their mind was attacked for a reason. Their culture, their whole mind. There had to be a new implementation of a culture, a new lifestyle had to be implemented in these babies, so they could forget who they really was. Well, now's the time for us to wake up back into the remembrance. You see? Wake up, you mighty race. Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Got to wake up and fight righteously, not emotionally, righteously. You see? So again, the whole benefit of what we about to read, melanin, is secreted by the pineal gland. You see, again, this is Dr. Layla Africa's piece on melanin. Melanin, what makes black people black. Melanin is secreted by the pineal gland. See how what good can we do with that information? You know what I'm saying? Okay, and for those that might have that type of attitude towards what we talking about here, when the babies are saying my melanin is popping, etc. We got to really get an understanding of what we talking about, and that there's power in it, for real, that comes from the universal God. Not to say that no one people is better than the other people, or one nation of peoples is better than the other nation of people. That's not what we're saying here. We just clarifying for the record. You see, we're making it our business to know who we are, so we can use it in our benefit. Because again, what good does it do you to have the finest machinery that you could think of, but you don't know how to use it? You see, to your benefit. You see, you got a Lamborghini, but don't know how to. You see what I'm saying? Drive it. You say, well, what good does that do you? You say you don't even know how it works. Therefore, you got to go to the owner's manual. You see, this is what this is. We're going to the owner's manual on this family. You see, we're going to the owner's manual, and we tying all this in with all of your holy scripts, the Holy Bible. You see, the Quran, the Torah. You see, etc. The Book of the Dead. You see what I'm saying? Etc. The Kabbalah, the Kabbalion, etc. We tying this all in. These are the owner's manuals of this, this grand machinery, once again, that God has, bestowed upon us. So we can do what we do down here on the earth planet, get what we supposed to get out of life. Look at here, melanin is secreted by the pineal gland. The pineal stimulates the growth of the nervous system's cerebrum. Your cerebrum is your thinking, is your thinking brain. And your cerebellum, we already know, is your mother brain. We already talked about the cerebellum and the cerebrum. So if you didn't catch that, yeah, go back and catch that lesson right there about who's who. One's male, one's female, one's father, one's mother. The pineal stimulates the growth of the nervous system's cerebrum. Therefore, an understimulated pineal in childhood can decrease thinking ability in adulthood. Look how important this is. The melanin content of the nerves is highest in black people. The melanin content, you see. What is melanin? I know at this point it's easy for us to go ahead and define melanin ourselves, but let's just read what Dr. Africa has in here and how he has defined it for us in plain language. Melanin is an organic, dark carbon chemical pigment substance. Melanin gives black people's iris a brown color and gives the dark color to their hair, skin, and the substantia nigra of the brain. This is an area of the brain where the cerebrum connects to the pons, P-O-N-S. See? Now again, we are in the brain area. That's why this whole lesson, you see, is important. Because at a time like this, the brain needs to be in working condition. Organic working condition, you see. Not in this corporate induced fearful state, you see. Now let us read on, because melanin and of course the pineal gland, etc., is something that all of us can do our own due diligence on, and we won't spend a whole bunch of time right now doing so. We just, giving a briefing. That's what we consider this to be. And something very, and not only a briefing, but this is a very important topic. You see, melanin, and man, know thyself, and know thyself, and then incorporate the wisdom after you find out who you are. Wisdom being activated. That's what wisdom means. Activate what you know. You see, put it into work for the good of yourself, your family, and humanity. Yeah, and because this definitely is not some type of, I'm full of information and I'm on an ego trip type lick. That's not what this is. This is life transforming instructions. At least this is what they're intended to be. You see? On the spirit realm, we're getting our spirit man healthy. Watch this. Consequently, a black person with an understimulated pineal, or one that uses drugs or eats processed foods, will harm the pineal and have reproductive problems. You see? Now, at one point we said that an understimulated pineal in childhood can decrease thinking ability in adulthood. And what that means is an understimulated pineal in childhood would be the baby, you know how you put them in a corner? You see? Now with modern technology, with their little laptop or the tablets, etc., that's understimulated pineal. We got that. So of course we're always needing to incorporate the law of Ma'at, meaning balance. We're gonna always need to incorporate balance in our everyday living, because we know that too much of anything is not good for you. That's basically what that means. When we say an understimulated pineal in childhood can decrease thinking ability in adulthood. You see? Then we go over here and say, consequently, a black person with an understimulated pineal, or one that uses drugs or eats processed foods, will harm the pineal and have reproductive problems. The processed foods and drugs impact the pineal. You see? Processed foods is junk foods. See how important this conversation is right now? You see, because everybody, you know, those that are unaware, you see, those that are unaware at this point about how serious it is, you see, when it comes to your everyday living, what you eat, what you drink, etc. You see? It's imperative right now that we know without a shadow of a doubt, you see, how our grand machinery works. Because we just heard what happened. The good brother say processed foods and drugs impact the pineal. And when we say drugs, of course, when he say drugs, of course, you'll go in here inside of this book, you see, a little deeper, and it'll tell you about synthetic drugs. Synthetic drugs would be those that come from Big Pharma, the pharmacy. We already know that. You see? Now, if the pineal gland is directly connected to the production and the secretion of melanin, which we're finding out plays a major role in who we are, you see? Because the melanin, it assists one in your everyday living as far as the vibration or the frequency that you're living on, you're operating on. The melanin, you see, the higher volume of melanin that's being produced and not, you see, disrupted or watered down by junk food and drugs, synthetic drugs, you see. The one that's not being disrupted is where we'll get a higher vibration and a higher frequency of living, meaning we're opening up these different spiritual channels that has been blocked with riotous living. You see, riotous living meaning just what the good brother say, processed foods and drugs. Let's go on over in here too. The pineal gland's ability to secrete melanin is sunlight dependent. We're just going through here. We need to know that. The pineal gland's ability to secrete melanin is sunlight dependent. Meaning, you see, that the sun plays a role, the S-U-N, plays a role in the pineal gland's ability to secrete the melanin. Meaning you need some sunlight. You need some natural sunlight in order for this machine to work like it was created to work. You see how that works, family? We need natural sunlight. The sun radiates full color spectrums of light. Full spectrum light striking the eyes, retina nerves, stimulates the pineal gland to secrete melanin. Melanin turns into serotonin hormone and melatonin hormone. You see? And we already know the serotonin is for the day, the melatonin is for the night. And again, when we talking incorporating the laws of Ma'at, meaning balance, living in balance, you need a proper amount of sun and a proper amount of darkness. You see? Because again, the growth goes on in the dark. When the moon is out is when the plants and you see wildlife is crunk. When the moon is out. So the theme here is balance, not no more of one than the other. Balance. When you lay down at night, you're supposed to be in a dark room, pitch dark, no TV, night light, none of that. You see? Because your melatonin, you see, it's time for your melatonin to do what it do at night. Black people that spend vast amounts of time indoors and out of sunlight or are exposed to the visual pollution of artificial light, sunglasses, television, reflected light of concrete, bricks, highways, and buildings, window glass, contact lens, monitors, television screens, and fluorescent lights, wireless cell phones, earphones, and cars tend to have mild depression. Well, you see that? That was what you see. That's a hell of a list, ain't it? Black people that spend vast amounts of time indoors and out of sunlight, or are exposed to the visual pollution. He's labeling it. He labels it visual pollution. That he calls artificial light, sunglasses, television. You see. Reflected light of concrete. He's labeling that visual pollution. You see? The monitors, the television screens, of course, so we know that we're going to talk about the laptop screens and the tablet screens as well, you see? Because you remember the eyes, it just told you that the eyes, you see? Full spectrum light striking the eyes. You see, the eye's retina nerve, to be exact, stimulates the pineal gland to secrete melanin. So that means that the natural sun's rays, the rays from the sun, the natural sun, you see, it needs to hit your eyes. That's when we get into the conversation about sun gazing. You see? Now that's a whole nother conversation. Because, like we're saying here, those people like Dr. Africa said that black people that spend vast amounts of time indoors and out of sunlight, you see, basically goes down here to tell you how dangerous that is, because it turns into mild depression. A polluted environment, public drinking water, noise pollution, negative moods or social situations, acidic bodily conditions, lack of exercise, processed foods, synthetic drugs, and computers decrease melanin production and the stimulation of the pineal. You see? This visual pollution can result in mild depression because the pineal gland is deprived of sunlight and exposed to negative stimulation. When children are deprived of sunlight, it can cause physical and emotional problems. Children who spend many hours indoors, you see that, family? Now you see many hours indoors. He has in parentheses school buildings. In parentheses, he has school buildings. You see? Let's read it again. When children are deprived of sunlight, it can cause physical and emotional problems. Children who spend many hours indoors, and he has school buildings in parentheses, playing video games, viewing television, and using artificial light are deprived of sunlight. Sunlight deprivation results in an understimulated pineal, causing the child to grow up and become an adult with decreased reproductive function. You see how serious this is? You see? Now this is under the chapter that he titles Melanin. That starts on page 10. And we read throughout this chapter from in between pages 10 and now we moved on to page 14. You see? And we talking about sunlight. You see? And how important it is for a melanoid, meaning a so-called black, you see, person, a so-called black human being. You see, a large part of our diet is sun. And we got to put that into perspective right now. Right now is a very good time to put that in perspective. That the sun is definitely a requirement. A large, I think it's safe to say that the sun is a major, yeah, let's use that word, major requirement in a life against, a life that you're going to live that's going to be against depression. We're talking about the art of war here, you see, going back to the mind. In order to even attempt to be successful in spiritual warfare, you see, we need sun. S-U-N. We need the proper amount. Because going back, once again, we know too much of anything, you see, is not good. It's not good. Too much of anything. There has to be balance. Okay? And the author, peace be upon him, Dr. Laila Africa, you see, is laying it out perfectly for the family, just like in layman's terms, to just let you know how important this is. Telling you that, you see what I'm saying, the children, you see, the children can be started out young on the wrong track. Definitely in today's society, because the tablet and the phone, the laptop, etc., the computer devices. You see that whole realm, that whole category right there. Today's youth, of course, will feel like they're left out or being left out without being able to, you see what I'm saying, indulge in a lot of that, which of course we know can be useful. We not saying that the babies don't need to be able to be, you see what I'm saying, advanced in their doings. Because of course it's gonna, in today's, you see what I'm saying, in today's time, you definitely need to be computer lit, meaning computer literate. So we not gonna negate that fact, but again, as it relates to righteous living, you have to practice mayat. You have to practice a balanced life. Not too much more, you see what I'm saying, of anything than the other. It has to be balanced out. And we can see that now with what Dr. Africa said about children who spend many hours indoors. That includes the school buildings. Now we have to think about that, because see, now you see, humanity is definitely being, as it relates to the family structure, humanity is definitely being tested. You see, because now it definitely requires a tremendous amount of patience, like no other, as it relates to the family structure. You see? to where the babies, you see, there's no extended daycare hours at this point, because that's all that the ISD represents is extended daycare hours. That's all. Because we can't, you say you can't go in there and implement your own curriculum in none of them. You're not going to be able to go in there and say, well, I want my baby to, you see what I'm saying? I want my baby to be more financial literate. So therefore, we need to implement this curriculum right here. You see, I know Dr. Yada 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 Yada. You see, that could teach a course on finances and as it relates to the urban culture, etc. You can't go into none of those ISDs and implement that type of curriculum. You see. So with that being said, it's just extended babysitting hours. That's extended daycare. That's all. You see? Unless that baby really know who that baby is, and then that baby is gonna, you see, decide whether extended, education is needed or not for them to be successful in who they are and what they have to bring to humanity as it relates to, you see what I'm saying, being a productive citizen. You see? We can't, none of us can really say that they getting that inside of those hours in there. Like he's saying in the book here. Many hours, children who spend many hours indoors. You see? It results to more depression. Because under sunlight deprivation results in an understimulated pineal, causing a child to grow up and become an adult with decreased reproductive function. You see how this working, family? And we got to know how important it is, again, how this machine works. And know that this pineal gland is playing a major role in producing what we can consider elixir of life, long as it is not interrupted with riotous living. Because riotous living is what disqualifies, you see, or eliminates the ability for this melanin to work in one's favor. You see, when you operating in a low frequency and participating in a riotous way of living. Now look how important this is. In adult animals that have no reproductive organ due to castration, the pineal gets small and the pituitary gets large. Now watch this. Because we can always liken ourselves, the animal, the human, animal, and plant kingdom all mimic or all, you see, are subjected to the same laws. You see, so that's why this analogy is being made between an adult animal, and now he'll go into comparing it to how it works on humanity from within a human. In adult animals that have no reproductive organ due to castration, the pineal gets small and the pituitary gets large. Sunlight deprivation decreases the stimulation of the pineal, almost similar to a castration state condition, which causes one to conclude that the same effect happens with people. Pineal shrinks and pituitary enlargement. You see how that works? Sunlight deprivation decreases the stimulation of the pineal, almost similar to a castration state condition, which causes one to conclude that the same effect happens with people. You see, the pineal shrinks and the pituitary enlarges. So that means, again, as it relates to mayat or balance, there's no balance. The pituitary has enlarged. That means the feminine, you see, energy from within you is gonna rule over what should be balanced out with the masculine. You see, there's supposed to be a balance. Now, sunlight deprivation is what causes this. You see, that's no bueno. That's no good. The understimulated pineal decreases the reproductive organs' response to gonadotropins. That has to do with the gonads. You see what I'm saying? The understimulated pineal decreases the reproductive organs, which is the gonads and the ovaries, you see. This causes a decreased weight of the ovaries and testicles. You see, the pineal gland increases sperm production and helps with female fertility. See how important this is? All that work in there together. The pineal gland is producing not only melanin, but sperm. You see? So once again, when we're talking about how you can get the best out of your grand machinery, see, that knocks out masturbation, you see? Because if you're masturbating, you see, that means that you're releasing the sperm unused. You see what I'm saying? Which, according to universal and natural law, that sperm's supposed to be doing some creating. That's what it's supposed to be connected to. Not just nothing. Because once again, masturbating, that would equate to the sperm being of no use. And when we talking about a hypersexual society that we live in, you see, this conversation is very important about how, oh my goodness, look at here, you see, the sperm that comes out of the testicles is produced in the brain. You see how important that is? It ain't produced down there, it's produced up there, where the Most High God reside, the pineal. You see? And if you're indulging once again in a bunch of masturbation because you're plugged into this hypersexual frequency, you see, that society calls for. You see, that means you're using up all of your vitality. That means you ain't gonna be able to think righteously. You see, because you dried up. See how that works? That's very important now. The pineal gland increases sperm production and helps with female fertility. The pineal gland increases progesterone hormone. Also, the pineal's melanin secretions help produce melatonin. Melatonin is the hormone that synchronizes the rhythmicity of the body. See, remember we talked about that melanin and how it give us that beat, how we on beat on the one, on the two, or whatever it is, whatever beat it is, you know we own it. We ain't behind it. We own it. That's the melanin. Melatonin is the hormone that synchronizes the rhythmicity of the body. It helps to control the circadian rhythm. We talked about the circadian rhythm over there on the last show over there with the good brother Barleen, Walk With Me podcast series. YouTube channel, The Press Box. Our last session, the title is Zeal. We talked about circadian rhythm. The body has a circadian rhythm for digesting food, you see? The body has a circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm meaning a cycle, a way that it works. That's very important, family, because you know we feel like what's too early to eat? What's too early? You know we'll say that. Well, we about to define it right now. We about to see what it do. Because we talking about how this grand machine work. We're not talking about emotions and what, you see what I'm saying? Because of course that's why you talking like you're talking about it. What's too early to eat? That's emotions talking, because you just want to eat something. But universally, there are laws that's already been set out that if, again, you obey them, that's how you getting out of your machine what you need to be getting out your machine. You see, what was created, what was organically created for you to get out your machine. Now watch this. Food ideally should be eaten from 12 noon to 7 p.m. Metabolized into the blood from 7 p.m. to 4 a.m. And from 4 a.m. to noon, the body is cleansing. We got that? Now let's read that again, what the good brother Dr. Leila Africa say. Peace be upon him. Food ideally should be eaten from 12 noon to 7 p.m. You got that? From the time you wake up, you see what I'm saying, really. And of course, this is going to depend on a lot of your schedule and how you know what I'm saying, what you do and how you do, you know what I'm saying, how you get your bread, etc. Of course, because you know we got a lot of, you know what I'm saying, graveyard working, etc. So you see your circadian rhythm is going to be disrupted as it relates to you. So you see natural law, and of course that's a whole nother story, because you see what I'm saying. The whole goal in life is for you to be who you're supposed to be, to where you're not having to compromise. Even the way that you get your bread doesn't have to be compromised, or doesn't have to be compromising you. You see what I'm saying, or your health. You see, that's why that's a whole nother conversation about why it's important to know thyself so you can be who you supposed to be, because therefore you're going to be getting your bread how you supposed to get it, and it ain't going to be working against you. It'll be working with you, because that's, you see, how you define passion. And you see, when the people say, you know, what I do, you know, I'm passionate. You know what I'm saying? This is my passion, what I do, so it's really not like work. See, that's about that conversation, okay? Because of course a lot of this you see what I'm saying? You'll be able to, you see what I'm saying, define it better when you know who you are, versus looking at yourself as a, you know what I mean, a 3/5 of a person. Meaning you coming with this corporate, you see what I'm saying, way of thinking and corporate way of, you know, trying to look at things and define it. We got to look at this holistically. And from the time you wake up, you see what I'm saying, on the AM, that's, as we can see, the body is cleansing. It starts at 4 a.m. and cleanses to what we call noon, to 12. Meaning, you definitely shouldn't be, you see what I'm saying, doing any eating at all from 4 a.m. to 12 noon as far as the cleansing process goes, you see? And of course, that's going to vary from different time zones, etc. that you live in, of course. But still, it's important that these laws that have been, you see, already set out before us, it's important that, if you know, that we tap into them and obey them so we can gain out of it what we're supposed to gain. Because the whole theme is fighting depression. That's what this is. In case, you know, somebody ain't getting it. The whole theme of this is to be fighting depression. Anything that depression is connected to. And we already know that there's a machine, you see, that promotes depression. that's posing as a nation and posing as a country, not as a nation, but as a country. There's a corporation posing as a country that promotes depression. Yeah, there's no holistic outlets being promoted within this corporation. You see? And our whole goal is to promote. When I say our, I mean those of us that consider ourselves light workers. You see? Those of us that consider ourselves light workers are here to promote anti-depressant, you see, behavior. Anti-depressant goings on. You see? We here to promote anti. And again, anti-depressant or anti-depression. That's what we here promoting. And the only way we can get into a anti-depressive state is to tap into man, know thyself. You see? And the melanin, make no mistakes about it, and the pineal plays a major role to all of this. There's a certain way we got to do it, certain way you got to feed it, certain way, you see? Again, we talking about food here. It's a specific time, remember? It's a time and a place for everything, you remember? So, with that being said, food ideally should be eaten from 12 noon to 7 p.m. Now I can honestly say that I personally practice obeying these laws right here. First, up on the rising, you see what I'm saying? Early on the rising, it's pretty much water and tea. You see what I'm saying? Water, some hot tea, you see what I'm saying? Good old sea moss drink or something. That's it. Because you got to get a body, the digestive system needs its time off. That's the whole key. Because when we're talking about a circadian rhythm, you remember? The body has a circadian rhythm for digesting food. You see? And as long as the body has a circadian rhythm, meaning a cycle for digesting food, it's a certain cycle. You don't want to throw it off. Or else this is when we get into this, acidic blood. You see, fermentation of different white sugars and flesh, etc., just sitting in your digestive system because it has no idea what to do. You see, and then now we're talking about this acidic, form taking over and disrupting the whole, you see what I'm saying, God body state, and the bloodstream is full of it. And wherever acid is some depression is there, jealousy, envy, low self-esteem, etc. is directly connected to this acidic effect. These low vibrational, you see what I'm saying, diseases. When that acid kick in, that's what's going to happen. From 4 a.m. to noon, the body is cleansing. Now that's what it is. No matter what your religion, you see what I'm saying, denomination, none of that. whatever your egoic title may be. You see what I'm saying? We talking about how the human body works, period. So, irregardless of, again, if you, I gotta do, you know what I'm saying? Whatever you know what I'm saying? Your hang up may be about the circadian rhythm of the digestive system. You still gotta reap the benefits. And reaping the benefits meaning you know what I'm saying? You gonna reap what you sow. If you obeying them, you gonna reap that. You gonna reap the reward. If you disobeying them, you gonna reap that. You see? Ain't nowhere around. That's all we saying. No matter what your organization is, yada yada. We talking about how the human body works. And highlighting melanin and how it works for us. The pineal gland, again, plays the major role in the production of the melanin. The pineal gland secretion of melanin converts into serotonin, then melatonin. These hormones need darkness and sunlight to stabilize the rhythm of the body. Sunlight deprivation destabilizes the circadian rhythm, causing seasonal affective disorder. SAD is what they call that. This is associated with abnormal melatonin activity. SAD depression symptoms can be SAD depression symptoms can be relieved with daily exposure to sunlight and to full spectrum artificial light bulbs and the use of melatonin supplements. See, there's a way out, always a way out for the family. You see? SAD, once again, seasonal affective disorder is something. This is associated with abnormal melatonin activity. Abnormal, meaning there's been some sunlight deprivation going on. You see? And SAD, depression symptoms can be relieved with daily exposure to sunlight and to full spectrum artificial light bulbs, because you can find them. Full spectrum artificial light bulbs, and the use of melatonin supplement. So the melatonin supplement is something that you can tap into as well. If you're unable to get this proper amount of sunlight. And of course, this sunlight that we're talking about is definitely from the rising, when the sun rises, until about 11, because we saying between the hours of 11 and 2, of course, depending on the time zone you're in. Between the hours of 11 and 2, the sun has an acidic effect, you see, to where you need to be, if you're in it, covered up more than exposed to it from these hours from 11 to 2. You see. Not that you can't be in it, but if you're in it, you need to be covered up more. You see. And then, of course, after 2 until the sun sets, you see, is these perfect hours or auspicious hours, good hours for you to be taking in some of that natural sunlight. You see, again, from the time from the sunrise until about 11ish, and then over there after 2. But in between 11 and 2, you again, if you got to be in it, you want to be covered up. That's why you see me vatos out there covered up with their rags on their head, everything. when they're doing what they do. Now, again, you see how important this is? Melatonin is dependent upon melanin, and melanin is dependent upon the pineal gland and healthy nutrition. See? Whole, unprocessed, unchemicalized food. That's healthy nutrition. Whole, unprocessed, unchemicalized food. See, that knocks out your mainstream eats and treats. See? All your mainstream eats and treats will fall up under the lines of junk foods. What the doctor is labeling junk food or processed foods. You see? That's we got to know that's you're working against your God body ability. We got that? Now let's go on over here before we get up out of here to page 22. What did it say over here on page 22? The melanin is the body's computer in a liquid form. We got that? You see? Because melanin, we got to remember, is the chemical that converts information outside and inside the cell. Let's say that again now. That's important. Melanin is the chemical that converts information outside and inside the cell. Remember, we told you that the human body is made up of trillions of cells. Trillions. Remember? Brain cells, lung cells, stomach cells, you see what I'm saying? Bone cells, skin cells, liver cells. You see? See how important this is? Again, melanin is the chemical that converts information outside and inside the cell. Watch this. Liquid information such as nutrients, red blood cells, white blood cells, fats, enzymes, proteins, and hormones need to be constantly read by the melanin. You see? The melanin read all of them. The melanin is the body's computer in a liquid form, as you can see. The information highway, you see, this is an information highway that's going on from the central nervous system all the way down to the soles of your feet. The sciatic nerve, etc. That's connected, you see? All of that. That begins, once again, walk with me now. Walk with me. Because this, again, the whole theme of life is constantly reverting back to the brain. You see? Aries season right now. Aries the ram. The precious lamb of God. My auntie, 76 born day today. She's 76. 76. That's a good number because that was a good year. Of course, she wasn't born in 76, obviously, because she's 76 years old today. But again, we talking about Aries, the ram, the precious lamb of God, meaning the pineal, the Most High God. You see? The central nervous system all the way starts in the brain and connected all the way down to the soles of your feet. This is the information highway. You see? That melanin plays a role in, and melanin rides the information streets. You see, melanin is riding. Got trillions of cells to communicate with. Trillions. That's very important. You see? Liquid information. That's why, again, it's important for us to know that whatever we put in our mouth and on our skin is going to hit what we call the river of life, and that's our bloodstream. And just like the melanin has to, you see, be able to act as a computer and compute what kind of chemical is being received. You see, you subject to make the computer crash, and then here come the virus, etc. You see how that works? And of course, it's only connected to you, your riotous living. Nobody can make you, you see what I'm saying, sick. You make yourself sick by allowing low vibrational, you see what I'm saying, frequencies to take over. When again, that's not what the God body, you see, was created for. The God body was created to do righteous, divine work, connected directly to divine purpose. You see? Meaning there's going to be a balance, not a overwhelming, you see what I'm saying? Imbalance. And an overwhelming imbalance is examples of, you see, dis-ease, jealousy, envy, depression, low self-esteem, you see, for sure, you see, indecisive, etc. You see? And the point of it all is when the melanin is acting as a computer, again, if it's receiving faulty information, rolling down this information highway, you see, via the nervous system. Because the nervous system is connected to every organ in your body. Again, 12 powers of man. Connected to 12 major organs. You see? If the melanin has to receive faulty information, what you think the machine gonna do? See how that works? The machine can't work righteously. It's going to have to work sporadically and low vibrational. Woe is me. I'll never be able to, you see, overcome, yada, yada. You see what I'm saying? That's because it's being fed the wrong stuff. Liquid information, such as nutrients, that's what the melanin can read. It doesn't get confused. You see, nutrients. Your mainstream eats and treats do not fit in the category of nutrients. You get no nutrients from your mainstream eats and treats. You see, that's where disease set in, obesity, etc. You see what I'm saying? Now, wherever there's an obesity issue, you got some compromising of the organs going on. You see. Now we talking about riotous living again. Somebody need to obey the law and save themselves and heal themselves. You see. Liquid information. That's what the melanin is. The melanin is the body's computer in a liquid form. Liquid information such as, you see, it's what the melanin does. It converts information. It got to turn the information into something. And it's a natural way that the body works. It's an automatic procedure that works within the body, if not tampered with, that will work in one's favor. long as you obey these laws, you see? And again, the melanin is the chemical that converts this information into, you see what I'm saying, what to do, how to do, you see what I'm saying, from a holistic sense. And that's where we get these owner's manuals. Back to that. We got to go to the owner's manual. When we trying to get out of our machine, our grand machinery, the best out of it that we can get, we got to go to the owner's manual. You see? Literature on melanin would be one. If melanin is a part of my human body makeup, yeah, that definitely would be one. You see? Connected, of course, to the Holy Scripts, the whole book, what we call the Holy Bible, the Torah, you see, the Quran, you see, all of these holy scripts. You know what I mean? The book of Enoch. You see what I'm saying? We can go on and on with the holy scripts, or the holy books that's out there that's gonna give us the Kabbalion, the Kabbalah. You see what I'm saying? That's gonna give us insight on how to work this machine. That's what it's all about. Getting the best out of my machine that I can get while here on this Earth planet. Walk with me, you see. Again, liquid information such as nutrients, red blood cells, white blood cells, fats, enzymes, proteins, and hormones need to be constantly read by the melanin. You see, because again, there's information being exchanged down this information highway. The information highway can have traffic jams, blocks, and detours caused by synthetic drugs, junk foods, toxic emotions, feelings, and spiritual distortions. Let's read that again. You see how the information highway can get disrupted? Once again, you see, the melanin has the ability to read. And if you feed your bloodstream, of course, because that's why all of this is taking place. All of this is taking place within your bloodstream. You see? And the information that's being passed on from whatever you put in it, again, going to what you drink, what you eat, all the way to your deodorants and lotions, all the way to the perm, etc. Whatever you put on your skin of a chemical form, all the way to your hand sanitizers. Walk with me, you see. Watch now. Watch. All the way to your hand sanitizers, excuse me. All the way to your clean up chemicals, what you cleaning up with, etc. All the way to that. You got to know that. You see? That you breathe in, you see? It's gonna take a transmutation form and turn into something, you see, going into the bloodstream, going back to entering the information highway that we're speaking about, that's connected from the central nervous system, you see, all the way down to the sciatic nerve and the soles of your feet. You see? We got to know that this is the information highway, and when it is disrupted with toxic chemicals, this is what happens. Watch this. The information highway can have traffic jams, blocks, and detours caused by synthetic drugs, junk foods, toxic emotions, feelings, and spiritual distortions. See how that work, family? Blocks. Blocks. Information highway can have traffic jams. So whenever there's a traffic jam, you see, we already know that there is definitely not a but many forms. I'm assuming, yeah, we could say that. A traffic jam is going to cause many forms of dis-ease to set in. That's what we got to know. We got to heal ourselves, family, and protect what's ours. You see? The information highway, problems can create a black person that is culturally homeless and seeking to serve European culture. Melanin has effects upon black people's social behavior and has an effect inside the body. You see? And again, we simply talking about how the human body works. But of course, we're highlighting the fact that there is a group of people, a nation of people that of course is divided up into different tribes. 5 specific tribes to be exact. 5 to match your 5 senses. That's how many senses you have. So that only makes sense for it to be 5 different tribes. You see, up under one nation. Now, this one nation of people that is divided into 5 different tribes, we can trace their history and find out how it is that this whole conversation about melanin and how it gives one the ability to fight righteously. This is what it says exactly about melanin on the back side, on the back of Dr. Laila Africa's book. Right here in this first paragraph, it says, the subject of melanin is straightforward and simple to talk about. Melanin is the biochemical substance that drives physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual life. What makes the subject difficult to talk about is the awkward, primitive Latin language that is used in science. Any attempt to avoid the use of the Latin language of chemistry and biology makes you sound unscientific and unintelligent. This was the challenge in writing about melanin, having to write in everyday language and not avoid science Latin jargon. You see? Most black people that read about melanin say, what good is it? It does not help you. It does not help you to be free. They, of course, are correct. But a black person unaware are manipulated and controlled by their unawareness. Black people need to know the basics about melanin and how to nourish melanin so they can get some positive use from it. You see? They are controlled by their failure to realize that the black race is a melanin dominant race. A melanin dominant race. The key to controlling black people is to reduce their blackness. Reduce their very ability to be black, which will directly affect their ability to be human and seek what is humanly theirs. Freedom. See? We're talking about freedom. Black people are a race nourishing themselves as if they are Caucasians. Since the Caucasians have the least amount of melanin, then black people that eat as if they are Caucasians are getting the least amount of nourishment to the melanin. Therefore, black people are anti-melanin and consequently fighting against themselves. In this writing, I have attempted to reveal melanin's properties and how the human body biochemically uses and nourishes it. You see, I feel like that's very important, that right there on the closeout. That, like the good brother say, you see, and of course, so when we say black people, we of course we use the word black to describe a people, which we know that black is not actually a person, it's a adjective describing, you see, a person, place, or thing. You see, and so that's a whole nother lesson. But because of course we know that when the good brother is using this word, he's using it in its most modern, known sense. But of course, that's a whole nother lesson, because we know that the word black is a color and it's an adjective. Adjective meaning describing a person. You see, and not actually a person. But again, that's a whole nother lesson. That's a whole nother lesson. And when we're using that word in this context, we know that we're talking about the melanoids of the Earth planet. And of course, there, like the good brother said, there is a way of living, and it's connected directly to the melanin, because again, the melanin is a biochemical substance that drives. You see, that means that's connected to zeal or your enthusiasm. You see, melanin is a biochemical substance that drives physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual life. You see? 1, 2, 3, 4. You see? 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go with the quantum. You see, the quantum experience of tapping into all 4 aspects of what the melanin brings. Your physical, the melanin, that's once again that the way we physically succeed, be it sports, You see what I'm saying? Or be it in the creative realm, because that's physical as well. You see what I'm saying? You know, we like world record breaking people when it comes to our physical ability. It's connected to the melanin. Mental is connected to the melanin. Emotional, connected to the melanin. And spiritual. See? And emotional, when we're talking about mental and emotional and spiritual and physical, there has to be a balance to all of it. And of course, if it's melanin dominated, that's when we're getting what we're supposed to get out of life. And that's when we're winning the battle and winning the war. Because we're using the organic tools that were set out before us to use, you see, to win the war. You see, KNOWrantine is the name of this live. KNOWrantine. No, because the whole theme of life is to know thyself. Thyself, you see, and to thine own self be true, not to thyself and the organization, or thyself and the corporation, etc. It's thyself, self-laws, you see, that has been already set out before us. That, as we can see, when we are culturally aware, when we are culturally aware, once again, 2020, you see, this calendar year of 2020, is separating the real from the fake for sure. You know, is you a man or a mouse? You know what I'm talking about? You gonna barbecue a mildew, you see? That's what this time definitely is calling for. Because again, the family structure has been definitely highlighted at this time. And as strong as the family is as strong as the family is, and of course as strong as the woman, because that's the foundation of our success, is how strong is our woman. You see? And then we'll see, you see what I'm saying, again, who's able to be separated from the real and the fake with how strong she is. Because however strong she is how high that the nation can rise. And she the one who definitely, you see what I'm saying, incorporates the balance. Now, of course, this is melanin driven, so that means that, you see, everything coming from that pineal on down, which of course needs to be in a uncalcified state that's going to allow mama to be in balance. Because we already know how that go. That mama can be off balance because daddy, you see what I'm saying, ain't on his business. So that's making her overdo, overthink, you see what I'm saying, overwork, you know what I'm saying, everything. So that's throwing off a imbalance right there for sure. Now again, that we getting down to the nitty gritty and seeing that, you see what I'm saying, it ain't really just all about, you know what I mean, what we thought it was. We thought that we could lotto our way up out of this. You see what I'm saying? Oh, the lotto. Oh, I'm on, yeah, one day. That's what we thought. But now we see, you see what I'm saying, that nah, this is a spiritual warfare that's going to take all hands on deck. You know what I mean? All pineals on deck in a uncalcified state. Meaning you're not feeding, you see what I'm saying, your temple. You see? None of this nonsense. To where, you see what I'm saying, you're giving the melanin the opportunity to be reading, you remember? A liquid computer. You know what I'm saying? You giving that melanin the opportunity to have some information to work with along the information highway. You see? I.e., your nervous system, i.e., the river of life, your bloodstream. You see? It's very important that we know, once again, what we dealing with, family. Like we can forfeit our inheritance by, you see what I'm saying, ignorance. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So therefore, we got to do what we can do. You see what I'm saying? Find ourselves, making it our business to move closer and closer to the knowledge of self. Health is wealth. You see? Man, know thyself. You see what I'm saying? Frequency. That's what we need to find ourselves. And again, this is your good brother, Sekond Sun. That's second with a K. S-U-N. And if you made it this far with your brother, I appreciate it. We're just, again, on a liberated quest to do whatever it takes. You see? To be an assistance in uplifting fallen humanity. This is the Walk With Me Live, as we can see, and we got a Walk With Me podcast series going on over on right here on YouTube, over at the Press Box YouTube channel. Once again, with my good brother, Barlene. Let me see it right there. Right. Bow there. Walk With Me podcast series. It's also available on the audio to that podcast series. Like I say, we about 6 episodes in. It's available on Encore, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I'm going to ask you to subscribe to my channel, this channel, Sekond Sun, if you haven't already. Because here, once again, we'll be going live, from time to time, not putting no specific time frame on it, once a week or twice a week or whatever. But we'll be going live here, you see, disseminating the information as we go along. And here, as we can see, it's not no gossip vlog. You won't catch no gossip, none of your latest gossip, talking about somebody else's business, you know what I'm saying? Who's doing who in mainstream, woo to woo, none of that will be going on here, as you can see. We straight on purpose. We're going live on purpose and with intent. You see? And the intent is to do exactly what you see. You know what I mean? What you hear. And that's to assist in uplifting fallen humanity. You see? Raising our vibrations and raising our frequencies until a higher, you see what I'm saying? Up until a higher, we're going up into a higher plane. We're going up a little higher. We're taking all of our energy up higher, you see, on purpose and with intent. You see? so we can get out of this thing what we was designed to get out of this thing. You see? And this is your brother, once again, Sekond Sun. And I just want to end it off by saying, at this time, as we can see, we've been granted an opportunity to barbecue a mildew. So, with that being said, it only makes sense for us to go ahead and take advantage of the time presented, you see? Because it ain't nothing we can do but, respond in our best fashion, you see? And responding in our best fashion is definitely using this time to be still and know. I am your good brother, Sekond Sun, and I'm out. Peace.